So in January 2018, that's over 5 years ago, I had the strong suspicion that AI would play a pivotal role in our economy. So I began to give AI keynotes and conferences to help people to prepare, to help people to make sense of AI. What is AI, and how are we supposed to use it in order to survive in our careers? Because I really felt that it would disrupt the workplace and businesses and organizations and the economy. And so we had to prepare as soon as possible. So in this video, I want to summarize what I said at the time so that you can benefit from my research in artificial intelligence. So as you can see here, I have a pretty diversified background, and I only created a software company, I think after 2010, when I discovered AutoHotkey, which is a script programming language. And but before 2010, I was always interested in business and marketing. And in 2017, I began to teach at Taft College. I developed three courses: online marketing research, project management, and email marketing. And it was a lot of fun to teach. And I'm also a software developer and innovator, and I'll talk more about that later on. But basically, my passion is business, wealth creation, knowledge management, and that's why like AI was very fascinating to me right from the start. So here, I talk about what artificial intelligence really is. According to DARPA, which is a research agency for the United States, I think it's the Defense Action Research Agency. They define AI as a system or entity that can think rationally, or that can think like human beings, and also that can act rationally and act like human beings. Now, not all AIs will satisfy these four conditions, but I think that if it satisfies one of these four conditions, then you can safely say that it is AI. But keep in mind that AI, according to researchers, intelligence can have up to 200 different definitions. So, keep that in mind when you hear the word AI, because people sometimes they don't define what intelligence is. But I think that most people, when they see a system or an entity that does something that humans used to do, it's reasonable to assume that it is AI. Like, for example, Stockfish is an AI that plays chess like human beings, and in fact, that plays chess better than human beings. It can easily beat the world chess champion, Magnus Carlsen. So we can say that Stockfish is a kind of AI. Now, the people who will lose from the AI driven economy and the people who will win, basically it's like the internet. The people who benefited the most from the advent of the internet in the 1990s, they made a lot of money because they got on board very early and they learned how to use the internet. AI is the same thing. AI is very technical, and therefore there's a learning curve. You can't just use AI the way that you would drive a car. You have to learn how to extract value from AI. So there's a learning curve, and the people who take the time and put in the effort to learn how to use AI will benefit the most. And the funny thing is that they will benefit exponentially because they can use their knowledge of AI in order to create AI systems. And we'll talk more about that later on. It's kind of exponential approach to leveraging AI. So you want to be part of the early adopters of AI because you don't want to lose. Trust me, you don't want to lose. This is not just a regular technology. AI is a technology that is organic and almost alive because it is like a human being. It can learn, but it's different from human beings because it can learn like 1,000 times faster. It can be 1,000 times more accurate, and maybe best of all, it memorizes, it remembers absolutely everything that it has learned. which is obviously not the case with human beings because our memory is so fallible. So, anyways, the new economic rules is that if you want to win at the workplace, whether you have a job or you're a freelancer or you run a company, you want to be faster than your competition. You want to be better, create better products, better services, and you want to offer products and services much more cheaply than the competition. So, but you have to understand what work is all about. Work is what your customers pay you for. Work is basically, you take an input, it can be raw materials, it can be information, and you process it in a certain way according to a certain algorithm or a processing methodology. And then you generate an output. And the output is what you're selling to your customers, or it's what you're giving to your employer if you're an employee, right? So work is really that. You take input, you process it, and you sell the output. Now, if you learn to program computers, then you can automate the processing phase, and therefore you can be super productive. But we'll delve into that more later on. Right now, I just want to give you an overview of the artificial intelligence field, so you can have a feel for it. So here I submitted that AI is going to be so transformative, so disruptive, that everyone, or at least the people who take the time and make the effort to learn about AI and how to use it, it's going to upgrade everyone. So, for example, the manual workers, the blue collar workers, they can become professionals in the sense that they can become knowledge workers because all they have to do is use a device that has AI, and suddenly they're going to be as smart as the accountant or the manager or the designer who spent years at university. So the blue collar workers, the manual workers, can become knowledge workers. The professionals or the knowledge workers can become companies because, as we'll see later on, their intelligence, their professional intelligence, is going to be augmented. It's going to be supported by these expert systems and these AI so that they can literally create an entire company around their expertise. So, let me give an example. Let's say I'm an email marketing teacher, right? So I'm a professional, I'm a teacher. I get paid $80 an hour to teach in a classroom, like about 20 students. So I'm a professional. But I could create an email marketing academy so that, I have AI agents that would teach and train students all over the world. And I don't even have to be present. I don't even have to be awake. I could be sleeping. And my AI or my AI agents would teach people email marketing. It would test them, it would motivate them, and so on and so forth. So I will have upgraded from being a teacher or professional to being an entire corporation that runs on the internet. So I would have a global audience, and this is what I'm currently developing. I would become like an agency, a company, because the artificial intelligence will help me to create an entire business corporation around my expertise. And then we have companies that are going to become as powerful as nation states. Already we have a few companies like Facebook, Google, that are already very powerful, but any type of company can become, maybe they're not going to become nation states, because there are legal and political issues involved, but they're going to become as powerful as nation states, and they're going to generate a great deal of value. So at the time, my message must have sounded like an alarmist message, right? Because I was telling people, look, AI is coming. If you're not worried, you should worry. But if you worry about it and you do something, then you don't have to worry. You're going to be fine. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that people understood what I was saying. Maybe it's my fault, but I was saying at the time that nobody's job is safe. But people somehow, maybe because they don't really understand AI, they're not in the field. They didn't really take that seriously. I was not the only one to warn against the arrival of AI and how it was going to disrupt people's lives and careers. I was not the only one by far. But the logic that I submitted at the time, and it turns out to be true, is that the higher your salary, the more at risk you are. And that's very simple because companies want to eliminate the high paid professionals, right? So they can keep the janitor who's being paid what, minimum wage or something around minimum wage. So the janitor is not going to cost a lot of money, but the professional, the knowledge workers, the managers who are paid like $80,000 a year or more, I mean, if an AI could replace them, can you imagine the cost savings that the company would benefit from? So I was saying that the more you get paid, the more likely they will fire you. And it turns out that that's exactly what's happening right now. We have ChatGPT replacing or potentially replacing the knowledge workers, the people who are university educated. You know, ChatGPT is not going to replace the massage therapist, the hairstylist, the janitor. So strangely enough, you know, those manual workers will be safe because it turns out that it's much more complicated to create robots to do the manual work than it is to create something like ChatGPT that can run in any internet browser. And like I said at the time, you know, it's not personal. Like nobody hates you, and people are not evil. But when you're the founder of an AI startup and you can see that you can become like a multimillionaire or even a billionaire if you can create, if you can eliminate an entire class of professionals, I mean, of course you would do it. You know, the CEO of an AI startup would feel bad for the people whose jobs will be eliminated, but he has no choice. He has to take care of his family, right? He has his own ambition. So you can't blame that person. But he's going to be super motivated to eliminate your job. And, you know, it gets worse because when you lose your job, you can't just go to another company to get another job because chances are the second company will also use AI. And so it's not just that you're losing your job, you're losing your career. You know, everything that you've been trained for at university, you paid a lot of money for your university education. Well, it's sad, but, you know, you might not have a job in that field again. So, you know, you have to, I guess, you know, bite the bullet and start a new career. But the good news, as I'll be teaching you on this channel, is that you can use AI to get your revenge, right? You can use AI to rapidly create a new career or even a new business so that you can generate income. And this new business is much more protected against future AI applications. So at the time, I created this acronym Plato, and it's a little bit academic, so I just want to focus on the practical aspect. The practical thing to remember here is that thinking was not really possible for AI to do. But when ChatGPT came in 2022, people began to realize, wait a minute, I'm just asking a question, and ChatGPT seems to have thought about it within a few milliseconds, and it answered my question. So it must be doing some thinking, you know, some thinking. Maybe it's not thinking like human beings, but you know, it can come up with answers really fast. So if that's not thinking, I don't know what thinking is, like seriously. So that's, I think, the main discovery or the main development in the sense that AIs like ChatGPT can actually think. It can actually do the job for you. If you ask it to, you know, to answer questions and or to write an essay, it can actually write a pretty good essay or even a book. And therefore, it shows evidence that it has thought. You know, maybe it cannot think like human beings. It cannot have a spontaneous conversation, but in terms of professional endeavor, it can actually think pretty efficiently. And so that's the scary part. But it's also the inspiring part, because if ChatGPT can think for you, then you don't have to be a knowledge worker. You can be a knowledge work director, right? The knowledge work is going to be done by ChatGPT. You're just going to be the director of that work. You're going to be like the supervisor of ChatGPT. So that's pretty exciting. So at the time, I proposed two buildings, and it was just an analogy so that people understood the two different types of AI workers. So in the building number one, we have AI that is traditional. So this is the expert systems that emerged in the 1970s and 1980s. So this kind of AI had to be created or crafted by human beings. In the building number two, we have a more advanced, a more recent kind of AI that they call machine learning, and it relies on big data, big compute power, and algorithms. So this is where computer programmers, data scientists, and AI engineers, this is where they're working, and it's a very tiny percentage of the population, because you typically have to have a PhD in mathematics, statistics, and you got to know how to program. So the people in that building, they're the super elite. It's they can have salaries of $500,000 to $1 million because they're contributing so much value to their employer. But I was saying that most people will work in building number one, or at least they should try to work in building number one. And this is where we have professionals, managers, freelancers, entrepreneurs who are using some kind of system or AI to augment their own intelligence. So you have to be a knowledge worker, number one. You cannot be a manual laborer like a massage therapist or hairstylist or a cook. You have to be a knowledge worker. And if you're a knowledge worker, then you can have your intelligence augmented, amplified by AI and expert systems. So, that's where I try to encourage people to go into building number one. Of course, there are people who could go into building number two, but it requires so much education, like a PhD, and you have to be to know about programming and also math and statistics. That's very unlikely that most people would go into that field. I mean, I have a cousin who's in that field, but he was exceptionally good in mathematics, and he taught himself how to program. So now he's working as the head of AI for a hedge fund. But aside from him, I don't know anybody in my very large network of people that I know on Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't know anyone who's in building number two. So I try to encourage people to get into building number one. So in building number two, I was differentiating between three broad categories of machine learning AI. The first kind is the AlphaZero. This is an AI that is very narrow in the sense that it knows everything about a particular game like chess or the Chinese game Go. But outside of the parameters of those games, it's quite dumb. It doesn't know what to do, right? So this is what we call an artificial narrow intelligence. The next level is an artificial strategic intelligence, and this is my definition. You might not find these terms elsewhere, but I define a strategic AI as an AI that helps you to win. So, for example, it can help you to invest better. It can help you to, let's say, get a job, get a promotion, manage your career, manage your business. So it's really focused on helping you to succeed. And then at the third level, and probably the last level, we have artificial general intelligence. So this is a general intelligence that is capable of learning outside of a particular field. In fact, its intelligence can be generalized, so it can learn quite rapidly. It's like a baby, a newborn, right? It can learn, but it's not like a human newborn, because it learns much faster, and it remembers perfectly everything that it has learned, and also it can instantly share everything that it has learned with other AGIs. So this is where people have their concerns and worries, because it's called the vertical takeoff, in the sense that once AI becomes an artificial general intelligence, it means that it can learn like a human being, but 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times faster, and it can replicate itself. So anyways, we don't have to worry about AGI, because it's probably above your pay grade and above mine. So I just wanted to put it there. And then I wanted people to focus on more on building number one, and this is where you have a chance of using AI to your advantage, so that you can survive, you can keep your job, or you can create a new career or a new business. But you have to understand the step-by-step system that will allow you to succeed. And this is my hallmark. Whenever I create a new course, I always create frameworks and sequences and processes so that people can learn and practice step by step. So the first step here is knowledge, right? You have to get into a field and learn the theory and the case studies and the terminology, the concepts. There's no way around this. So if you're let's say a gardener or a massage therapist or a hairstylist, that's not knowledge work. I mean, obviously there is knowledge involved in massage therapy, and if you're a yoga instructor, there is knowledge involved, right? But when we talk about knowledge work, we're talking mostly about white collar workers who work in an office, and their job is really to look at the computer and process information so that they can create new information products that have higher value. So basically, the knowledge workers are processing knowledge. And here we find all the students and the teachers and the academics. So you have to start at this level. This is the level that you're going to get into when you enter building number one. You have to acquire the theoretical knowledge and develop an understanding of your field. And then after you have sufficiently learned the concepts, the theories, the frameworks, the techniques, then you go to level number two, where you're applying your knowledge. And this is where most professionals are. After they graduate from university, they go into the workplace and they're actually applying the knowledge that they've learned. So for example, if you study digital marketing at college and you spend 2 years and you get your diploma, then you're ready to go into a digital marketing agency or a corporate employer, and then you can apply your knowledge about SEO, web programming, email marketing, and so on and so forth. So this is where most people are working, and this is where they earn their paycheck. So I'm going to stop here, but this is the first part, and I'll see you in the second part.